Good people, welcome to FiddleHed, Fiddle Lessons. How do you play the fiddle in tune? Maybe you're wondering that, maybe you're struggling with that. If so, this is the lesson for you. This is a series of lessons, in fact, on how to play in tune. Okay, so the first lesson was on drone tuning, then on call and response loops, then on interval practice, and now we're going to be looking at audiation, which is basically just hearing music in your head. You've done it before, right? You've heard some song you like. Justin Bieber? No? Okay. Drowsy Maggie. But you hear it, you're in your head walking down the street and you're like, or you're washing dishes or something. So that almost everybody does audiation. What I'm going to get you to do in this lesson is consciously practice it. Okay? By the way, audiation is a term that was come up with, I think, in the 70s by Edwin Gordon as part of something called music learning theory. And that's about all I'm going to say about that right now, but just to know that was like one of the crowning things that this man came up with that has helped people learn music. And so what I've done is taken that idea and given you some actionable exercises to play along with. And they're the call and response library that I've been talking about throughout the course, all right? So with things like that, you can really just consciously practice audiation. And so let's get into it. You can do audiation with anything, but breaking it down, it would be you could do it with single notes, intervals, exercises, and then whole tunes, okay? So if we do it with a single note, say you want to tune up D1, perhaps you want to start by making sure that's in tune. So you could play a drone track, which I'm doing now, and the drone for D1 would be E. And so I play it, get it in tune. I feel reasonably confident it's in tune. You could also use a tuner, but the sooner that doesn't train your ear as much as having to listen to a drone track where you've got to start relying on your ear. Very important as a fiddler. So we've got this in tune, and now to practice audiation, I just alternate between playing and then trying to hear that note in my head. So it may be hard at first, so try humming or singing that note. So after a while, you will be able to close your eyes and just hear that tone, hear it, imagine it on a violin. In fact, that'll be the easiest way. I'm very good at visualizing music, at hearing it in my head on violin, not as good at other instruments, interestingly enough. So it's harder for me to just hear that on on a guitar now, a guitar note. So anyhow, practicing with this way intentionally will really train your ear to get the right note, because you're just creating a mental model what it should sound like. This is the key, the sort of philosophical underpinning of this. There's a whole other thing I want to tell you about very briefly, which is deliberate practice. And it's a whole school of behavioral science to help people learn. But basically, practicing with these loops that I've created is forming a strong mental model, and that's the whole point of deliberate practice for anything. Basketball. I was doing a lot of basketball for a while, partly because I was interested in deliberate practice. I was playing a lot. Then I fractured my foot, but I'm going to get back on the court. I'm coming back. Anyway, deliberate practice is what we're getting. I should have mentioned this way earlier in the course, but anyway, I'll put it in the notes. So it's a very useful thing. Okay, so so let's continue with audiation. We did single notes. You can do intervals, so like D1 to 3. And you can do bigger intervals like D1 to A1. We could also do exercises of different lengths. So the exercises could be purely just like here's a 4-note exercise that I've been using in the course, D1, 2, 1, open. So I could practice hearing that in my head. So anyway, you could also use tune parts, you know, and this you could just do by playing on your own. So you could take like, I don't know, swallowtail jig, first 6 notes, and then try to hear it in your head, and then play it. Singing a little bit at first will help too, and you know, if you're not quite sure if you're audiating and properly hearing in your head, just sing it a little bit to help. And then the last thing you could do is, if you start to get confident with these small exercises in audiating, try to see if you can hear an entire tune in your head, you know, and get to the point where you can hear it without even humming or whistling it. That's sort of like the ultimate goal, okay? And so I just want to talk through a few variations on the ways to practice audiation. So if you're, you can do it with and without the tracks I've created. So ways to do without would be, you could play something and then audiate it. You could sing it, then audiate it. Do 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 do. Try to keep the beat going. So like try to tap your foot while you're audiating, so you keep the beat. This is kind of a nice practice. Like do 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 do. Do the same thing when you're alternating playing the fiddle and audiating. So like. Different speeds. You can do it with variations. You know, you can find ways to be creative and add variation. All right. So let's see. We've done listening. We've done audiating with playing, fiddling, with singing, with just listening to the backing track, the call and response loop. And I just do it in my head. Alright, so you could also audiate without ever hearing anything. See, this is like kind of maybe one of the hardest things, you know, see if you can remember something you worked on yesterday, or look at, see if you can remember something you did yesterday or previously, you know, like say you've been practicing swallowtail jig, try to audiate the whole thing. But here's an extra challenge. If you've been practicing it for a while, just shift gears in your mind to something else and then come back to it. So for example, think about what you had for lunch yesterday. Can you remember? And then think about all the details, where you ate it, if anybody else was with you, you know, all that, and then come back, and now you've kind of reset your mind, and now see if you can hear swallowtail jig in your head. And play the whole thing in your head. It'll be challenging, and it'll be try to see at what parts it becomes harder, and then just like learning a fiddle tune, so go in and practice that with focus on that part. So say like you're audiating swallowtail jig in your head, and then at the end of the A part you can't quite remember it. Oh, okay, so I'll play it now. And then spend some time audiating that phrase, or even parts of that phrase, like just in my head. And I'll try to do more audiation. And so on. And so this is very cool, you know, and just in the same ways like you're having a technical problem with something, if any part of the tune you're trying to do the whole thing and you can't quite audiate it, then you would go in and focus on that. All right? So almost done with audiation. You can take anything that you've worked on Fiddle, any loop, and just kind of practice it on your own with audiation. So say, let's use a different example. Breeches full of stitches. So you can just take that piece and just audiate at your own speed. You could even use a drone track along with it. So that would be an A drone for breeches full of stitches. So I could do it with the drone might be nice because it can then playing it on my computer speakers, because then you can kind of have a reference. So you could also do it at your own speed. So but maybe you don't even want to, maybe you don't even have access to that and you just want to practice audiation, but you can just do it on your own. Alright? And the great thing too about it, I'll just say in closing, is with audiation you can practice anywhere, anytime. You're in a long car ride, you don't have to drive, you don't have anything to do. You know, you can really start to develop your ear by just playing something, listening to it, playing it, singing it. Alright? And remember that singing is, if you're having difficulty with audiation, singing is the bridge that will take you to that point where you can do that. And just some other side benefits of audiation, if you become good at it, you can start to imagine music and imagine things you want to do that you haven't even done before. Your mind will start to do that. You'll start to maybe hear variations, or you'll start to put things together. Oh, this tune would go well into that tune, things like that. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I think it's a very cool idea, and I'm new to using this. This is one of the newer things I'm doing with in-person students to try to, I also think it's just kind of cool and fun. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to do a few other kind of short, like micro lessons related to playing in tune. So stay tuned for that. No pun intended, I swear.
Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more.
Thanks for watching the video.
Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.